Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me once again. This is Upon Further Review with Sean Tomlin. It's a wonderful Wednesday afternoon, and guess what? Now we're one day away from football. Football week 9 is about to start, but before we get there, let's take a look back at what happened last week. Well, last week we had it all start off on Thursday night with the Ravens and the Dolphins. Or sorry, no, that's this upcoming Thursday. We had it all starting last week with the Vikings and the Chargers. And the Chargers decimated the Vikings 37-10. Well, didn't really see much of a surprise there. Carson Wentz is, well, there's a reason why Carson Wentz has been on so many teams and hasn't been relevant in a while. Because he just lost a step. You saw he had a little bit left when he was with the Indianapolis Colts, but ever since then, it really hasn't been good. And he's had flashes, but he's not the guy he once was. After that injury with the Eagles way back when on their Super Bowl winning season in 2017, he just hasn't looked like the same Carson Wentz since then. Then we had the morning game start off with the Jets versus the Bengals. This one was actually a really close, really interesting matchup. It was the Jets ended up getting the victory 39-8. They came back from a 2-point deficit or 2-score deficit to come win that game. Everyone kind of saw this one coming because we all know Nick Mangold passed away that morning or Saturday night, and they wanted to get that win for him, and they'd been winless at that point. So, I kind of, if I was a betting man, which sometimes I am, I would have bet on the Jets to win that game because of that implication. Then we had the Giants versus the Eagles, and this one had some ugly injuries into it. Game should have been a little bit closer than this if they had their full arsenal, but it was a 38-20 win for the Eagles. Then we had the Ravens and the Bears. It was a 30-16 victory. Never was really close at any point in time. Maybe in like the first quarter. But that's probably about it. It was a good game overall. Ravens were actually looking like a pretty decent team, even though Lamar Jackson was not running it. Then we had the Texans and the 49ers. This one was an interesting matchup, and it looked like the Texans were going to be rolling away with this one for quite most of the game. But the 49ers, they just weren't able to come back. Texans looked just absolutely awesome. So they ended up taking that one 20-15. They are showing some things. There's some good portions to their team. Woody Marks is doing fairly good in the backfield. Chump's not really getting too much. He's getting the same amount of volume, but he's not really making anything out of it. But I think that says a little bit more about the offensive line than about the player. Then in our next matchup, we had the Dolphins and the Falcons. And I thought the Falcons were just going to light it up with this one. Then I found out later that Michael Penix Jr. was going to be out, and it was going to be Kirk Cousins playing. And I had high hopes because I do think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but he just really kind of spiraled off last year before they started starting Michael Penix instead of Flacco, and then, well, we all know what happened there. But the game was never really tight. The Dolphins had an awesome day. Tua and Waddle were just in sync. And considering that Waddle is their only option in the passing game, they better have been. Next matchup, we had the Bills going up against the Panthers. And then the Bills just absolutely destroyed the Panthers, which shouldn't be, like, you should not expect that to happen because it is the Panthers. But they had shown in the past couple of weeks with Dowdle and Bryce Young that they'd had some things going, but no Bryce Young, not as much Dowdle use, and we all saw what happened there. Noises from the corner. Gotta pay attention to everything in this house. All right, in our next matchup, we had the Browns going against the Patriots. Patriots ended up taking that one 32-13, even though Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in that game. And Drake May just forgot that people in front of him can jump. Like, oh, I saw the guy behind him, so I was going to pass it to him. I just forgot he could jump. You fucking kidding me? You threw it right to him. Give me a break, man. It is the Browns, so everyone's got to get something now and then. So give this one to the Browns, I guess. But, well, not really. They did lose, but, I mean, they have to get some statistical stats, and I think it just kind of proved a little bit also that Dylan Gabriel is probably not a starting quarterback at this point in time, and maybe it's time to go to this Mr. Sanders. I think you've heard of him. I think they should play him in the next few weeks, and it'll probably come to fruition. So I hope that does happen. Then in our next matchup, we had the Buccaneers going up against the Saints. It was a 23-3 shellacking by the Buccaneers to the Saints, which isn't too much of a surprise. And because of this, Spencer Rattler looks like he might have lost his starting job. Then we had the Cowboys and the Broncos. This was an awesome matchup. The Cowboys ended up losing 44-24, but it was still an awesome matchup just to see everything going down. It was back and forth for most of the game. Broncos were able to, put a couple more points up a little bit more consistently, and Cowboys defense isn't that great, isn't that stout, so they just weren't able to capitalize on any of that, and came out on the losing side. Then we had the Colts versus the Titans. Those Colts won. Yes, the Colts won 38-14. They're an awesome looking team, 7-1. Jonathan Taylor is definitely looking like an MVP candidate, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. To finish off, Sunday was Sunday Night Football with the Packers and the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers going up against his old team for the first time, and he failed to get the victory. So, he can't get it all. He was also in line to become one of only 5 quarterbacks to have beaten every single team in the NFL. Only happens when you've been playing for a really long time and you've been traded. But the Packers were able to get the victory, and Aaron Rodgers will have to wait another time to possibly beat the Packers. Might have to be next year, but we don't exactly know what his plans are because, well, he hasn't gone to take his ayahuasca trip yet, so I guess we'll have to wait till next year. Then everything came to a head on Monday Night Football with the Commanders and the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were able to get that victory 28-7. They dominated the Washington Commanders, and it was unfortunate. Commanders are still without most of their top options and without their top quarterback. So kind of don't see too much going on with them, although they've got assembled a pretty good defense. They weren't able to shut down those Chiefs. Let's look ahead, and we will do my picks as well to what's going on in Week 9. In Week 9, it starts off when we've got the Ravens going up against the Dolphins, and Lamar Jackson is supposed to be returning, so I'm taking the Ravens on this one. Lamar Jackson-led team going against the Dolphins. Dolphins haven't really been too much at all this year. They may have got the win last week, but I don't think I see that happening a lot this year. And then on our morning slates, we're going to start it off. We've got the Colts going up against the Steelers, the 7-1 going up against the Aaron Rodgers. Will Aaron Rodgers be able to get a victory over the Colts and put their win streak on hold? No, they won't. It's going to be the Colts. Picking the Colts. Always not going to go there. In our next game in the morning, we got the Broncos versus the Texans. Obviously, the Texans got a victory last week, and they looked pretty strong. But going up against the Broncos, they're going to be very hard-pressed to do the exact same thing. And I see the Broncos taking this victory easily. Then we've got the Chargers and the Titans, and considering the Titans have now become probably one of the dumpster fires of the NFL, I'm going Chargers on this one. Not to mention the Chargers just have been looking awesome offensively and defensively. So there's no point to not want to pick the Chargers to go for that one. Then you got the Vikings and the Lions, and after a week off, the Lions look refreshed. They got their new signed DN, Mr. Hutchinson, already. And guess what? They're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Probably pretty badly. So be prepared for that. Then we got the 49ers and the Giants. This one would have been a much closer matchup, I believe, if Scadaboo was still there, but I just see the 49ers being able to overcome this one. As much as they've overcome absolutely every single injury at every single position all year long, I think that they've got this one, and I think the Giants are going to be on the losing end of this battle. Then we've got the Panthers and the Packers. Yep. Pretty much that's going to be the Packers, because I don't think Bryce Young is back. And if it's Andy Dalton, good luck. So we're going to pick the Packers in that one. You can say I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. Then we got the Bears versus the Bengals in our next matchup. I think this one's going to be a Bears victory. Flacco's not looking like he's going to be starting, or could be. He's a little bit uncertain, so keep an eye on that one. I haven't heard in this next matchup, which is going to be the Falcons and the Patriots, if Michael Penix is going to be starting. Excuse me. I haven't heard if Michael Penix is going to be starting. Sounds like he's going to be starting. Him and his top wide receiver, Drake London, are both day-to-day, but look like they're trending in the right direction to be playing this weekend. In the beginning of our morning or afternoon slate of Sunday games, we are going to have the Saints going up against the Rams. I think this is a pretty interesting matchup. The Saints are going to be starting their rookie quarterback, Stroud. I'm not 100% sure on how to pronounce that. I'm sure if he does good, I will learn it. But he's going to be going up against the Rams with Matthew Stafford there, and the Rams have been looking killer. So that's one that if you are in any fantasy league, really, you will probably want to start the Rams against the Saints. Starting a defense against a rookie quarterback is always a good move. The next game, matchup of games, we've got the Jaguars going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And this one's going to be a toss-up, but I'm going to go Jaguars winning on this one with Travis Hunter in line to look like he's going to have another big performance like he did last weekend. And then we've got the Chiefs and the Bills. And I think that the Chiefs are going to come out and lose to the Bills. I think the Bills have gotten some good momentum over the last few weeks. And I don't know, they always do bad against the Chiefs. They always seem to kind of fumble the ball, if you may. But I think that the Bills are going to be able to get over this this hurdle of theirs with the Chiefs this year. I think they're going to take that victory on Sunday afternoon. And then our next matchup and final matchup of the afternoon games is going to be the Seahawks versus the Commanders. Actually, that's the night game on Sunday, is Seahawks and Commanders. And apparently already some top options are going to be out for the Washington Commanders. Haven't gotten any news yet if Jaden Daniels is going to be playing or not. I think the Seahawks are going to take this victory anyways, even if those players were there. The Seahawks have looked very good defensively and pretty awesome on offense, so I think you're going to want to take the Seahawks on that matchup. And to finish everything out, on Monday Night Football, we've got the Cardinals going against the Cowboys, and it's going to be the Cowboys taking this victory. There's no reason to think that the Cardinals are going to do anything, because they haven't really done anything in 7 years. I don't know. They're not the greatest looking offense. They're definitely not a great looking defense. They're just a run-of-the-mill, middle pack kind of team. Never good, but never really bad. So that's all for our look back and our look forward. So now we're going to check out my top threes in all positions. I usually make this list on Tuesdays. Today, obviously, because this episode's going to be out at 3:30. I made these picks today. Doesn't really make a difference, but sometimes I change my mind. So Tuesday, I could have an entirely different view on somebody than I do the next day. But here are my top threes for quarterbacks. We had Jordan Love, we had Bo Nix, and then we had Tua Tagovailoa. Our running backs, and actually, I meant to do my perfect lineup first. My bad. These are the top threes of every position player throughout the fantasy football in the NFL, obviously, this past weekend. So quarterbacks, Love, Nix, Tua. Our running backs, obviously, were led by Jonathan Taylor. Then we had Hall and Cook, so some good performances there. We had, for wide receivers, Franklin, Rashid Rice, and Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman had an amazing catch, so good to see him getting it going. Tight ends, we had Traft, Kelsey, and Gadsden. Gadsden. I'm going to have to hear it a couple more times before I'll get that one correctly. The tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers. On defense, we had the Bucks, Bills, and Browns. So a lot of different teams coming up there, a lot of different players that you wouldn't normally hear from or see. So that was good to see. I was very happy and surprised. It was actually for what they called a blowout week in the NFL, or kind of like the other one was National Tight Ends Day. Although I didn't really see all the tight ends doing amazing, but it was what it was. Then, now we're doing my perfect lineup, which, like I was saying, I'm making it on Wednesday, usually make it on Tuesday, so I could change my mind completely by the next day. So this is what you're getting on Wednesday, my perfect lineup. So my perfect lineup, I believe, this weekend is going to be Justin Herbert at quarterback. My running backs are going to be Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor. My wide receivers are going to be Lad McConkey and Rashid Rice. My tight end is going to be Tyler Warren. My flex is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. And for defense, I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers. Alrighty. So that's all for my top threes and my perfect lineup. Now, let's look back at what happened last week in the Fantasy Football League, Clusterfuck 2. We had a lot of great action over the weekend, and it started off with Hot Chub Time Machine, MLC, going up against Riley Read Me a Book. Caden's team versus my team. And I was barely able to get a victory over him. 157.8 to 155.95. It was a very good matchup, close all the way, all like the entire time. It was just back and forth. It was a great matchup. Had a fun time in that one. Next matchup, we had the Mark Davis Bullcut Simons team losing to Dan's team, or Ty's team, Protect Your Holes. 131.95 to 128.83. So that was a good matchup too. Thought Ty was going to come back in the end there and be able to take the victory over Simon, but he fell just short. In our next matchup, we had the Bench Whisperers, Graham's team, versus Don't Be a Kyron, Nathan's team. And the Bench Whisperers were able to get the victory, 171 to 142.85. It was a tough match. Kind of Nathan had him on the ropes for the first half of the day, and then Graham just pounded the rock with Shaquan Barkley. Shaquan, whatever the fuck you want me to say. Or whatever the heck you hear I say. Anyways, Barkley took him to the promised land, and his players just went off from there. And then in the afternoon and into the night, Graham was leading by a long shot. Then in our next matchup, this was probably the closest matchup in the league this weekend. It was Shane's team, the GB Packers, going up against Bianca's team, H-N and the Membrane. And it was 142.05 to 140.85, with Bianca taking that victory. Congratulations, this was Bianca's first week in the league, so very happy to have gotten to see her get a victory this weekend over a top-tier, long-time player in this league. In our final matchup last weekend, we had Dan's team pass the Dutch, beating Les's team, Chase Ventura. It was a 129.25 to 110.40 victory for Dan. Congratulations. Good luck. Now let's look ahead and see what is going to happen for this next week upcoming. The matchups that we're going to have are going to be my team, Hot Chub Time Machine, MLC versus Bianca's team, H-N in the Membrane. Then we've got Protect Your Holes, Ty's team going up against Graham's team, the Bench Whisperers. Simon's team, the Mark Davis Bull Cup, going against GB Packers, Shane's team. Then we had Left's team, Chase Ventura, going up against Nathan's team, Don't Be a Chiron. And to finish off the week of the matchups, we've got Dan's team, Pass the Dutch, going against Caden's team, Riley, Read Me a Book. So let's go back and let's look at the standings after 8 weeks. After 8 weeks, we've got Division 1, Happy Gilmore, being led by Dan's team, Pass the Dutch at 5-2 and 1. Our next position goes to second place. That's Mark's Davis Bullcut Simon's team at 5-3, followed by Shane's team, GB Packers, at 4-4, followed by the Bench Whisperers at 3-4-1, and on the bottom of that division, we've got Caden's team at 2-6. And in our next division, the Shooter McGavin division, my division, we've got me leading, Hot Chub Time Machine at 5-3. Followed by Ty's team, Protect Your Holes at 5-3. Chase Ventura at 5-3. Les's team, Don't Be a Chiron at 3-5. And Bianca's team, H-N in the Membrane at 2-6. So, lots of good stuff going on in the Fantasy League. No one's really out of it yet. And no one is pulling away. Awesome to see, awesome to see. So now we're coming to the end of the show. Our goal to go moment, or our goal to go segment to drive things home. We've got a lot to talk about. Scary Terry McLaurin will be missing Sunday's game against the Seahawks because of a quad injury. He returned last week for the one game and apparently went right back to the dressing room after that game and was like, I'm going to be out. Deal with it. Eagles sent Minchie the third to the Jets. Eagles get back a 7th round pick, and I can't remember exactly which player it was they got back in return, but they're definitely happy to be rid of the Minchie project because honestly, when they got him, it was like, why would you pick that guy up? You know, you already have a huge stacked wide receiver room. You don't really need him. Then also, Michael Penix and Drake London both look to be in the lineup to start this weekend. They are still considered day-to-day, week-to-week type thing, but it is looking very promising that they will be back playing this weekend. Pacheco, on the other hand, he's going to miss Sunday's matchup. He has... He's dealing with a knee injury, and he's definitely going to be out versus the Bills. So that's another big added one for the storyline of why the Bills will probably have that victory in the bag. Yeah, if you're watching the Giants game this weekend, you probably saw Cam Scadaboo have a horrible ankle injury that ended his season. It was pretty gruesome. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it because, oh my God, it was something to see. You don't see that all the time. But if you're squeamish, you probably don't want to because whew, it was nasty. Now, Mr. Hutchinson, what are you going to do with that big extension? Are you just going to fade into the background, into irrelevancy? Or are you actually going to play out that contract and just start busting it? I hope you do, because the Lions could use you. They're a good team, but they need to be a better team, and you help them do that. Now, Joe Flacco, about starting this weekend, it's a little uncertain. No one has really been given any bit of much information on the 41-year-old quarterback and why he might or might not be starting. Now, the Broncos have been having a lot of tight end problems over the past few weeks, and they decided to go out and try and add somebody to help fix that problem. And who would that be? Well, Mercedes Lewis, at 41 years old, is who they have signed to their practice squad, and they look to be elevating him right to the actual 53-man roster sooner than later. I don't know why you go out and get such an old tight end, but see if it works. I think it's his 20th season or something like that. He was originally drafted in 2006, so to put that into perspective about how old that is, in 2006 was Sean Payton's first year coaching the Saints. Jay Cutler was drafted by the Denver Broncos in the top first round in 2006, and he stopped playing in 2017. So Mercedes Lewis wasn't that good. Wasn't as good as Jay Cutler. Obviously, two different positions, but anywho. Now, is JT an MVP? I think so. He's had 4 games this year with 3 rushing touchdowns, leading the league in rushing yards, on pace to beat Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing yards, and to beat LaDainian Tomlin's single-season rushing touchdowns. So, not only is it an exciting time to be a Colts fan, is it not an exciting time to be a Colt, which are 7-1, and, seeing him do that after all the contract stuff over the past 2 seasons, it makes this so awesome to watch. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, if you like this video, like, comment, and share it. Get this video out to as many people as you can. Also, subscribe to my channel. That way you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. Also, if you need more UFR with Sean Tomlin, go to upon.furtherreview at Instagram to see UFR reports that I will do as often as I possibly can to update you guys about new transactions, player injuries, all sorts of other NFL news. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining me on this wonderful Wednesday. Enjoy Thursday Night Football tomorrow, and I will see you next week where I'm going to break down everything you need to know.